Anastasia Gusina, de teamleider van de IMF-delegatie, die thans voor de 4e review in Suriname is, die heeft aangegeven dat het programma, welke thans wordt uitgevoerd, dat het harde werk, want zij begeleiden slechts, zij geven de technische assistentie en de technische adviezen, maar het is in feite de regering die hard werkt aan uitvoering van de maatregelen. Maar ook bracht ze haar dank uit aan het Surinaams volk voor de vele offers welke tot nu toe zijn gebracht. Ook zij geeft aan dat het geen makkelijk traject is welke nu wordt afgelegd door het volk van Suriname. Daarvoor vraagt ze dan ook alle begrip, want als alle zaken in place zijn, als de instituten die worden versterkt en de regering ook haar deel nakomt, dan kunnen wij betere tijden tegemoet zien. Aldus de IMF-vertegenwoordiger Anna Gusina, die dan ook aanzat op de persconferentie van het ministerie van Financiën.
We had an excellent, productive mission. Thank you so much for the hospitality that you have extended us. We this time also had an opportunity to travel to the interior of the country and to see how people live there. And it was a beautiful experience, eye-opening experience. We could see the people that we serve. And it's not just the people in the Paramaribo, but in the interior of the country. And it was also a rejuvenating experience, the beauty of it. And if you have not had a chance to go, please do. It's good for the soul. With the Minister of Finance, with the Governor, with other key counterparts, we are fully aligned in the vision that we have for Suriname. All of us want to see a prosperous, sustainable, happy country where people can reach their full potential. And I am very happy with the results that have been achieved so far. Yes, it's not perfect, but the signs of stabilization that you see, that the exchange rate has been more or less stable since May, that the inflation is on a downward trend, that the international spreads in the 600 basis points, very low. The fact that other international organizations and donors are re-engaging in Suriname. None of this is good luck or coincidence, but a result of the policies that both the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank have implemented. So it is important to retain those gains, those very hard-earned gains, and not to backtrack on various policies. To the extent that the country can keep the commitments, the IMF does not need to ask for any more measures. If you're wondering what those commitments are, they're in the public domain. If you Google IMF staff report 3rd review, you would see all of those commitments. Everything is out there in the public domain. So I am hopeful that right now we have managed together. We provide technical advice, of course, but the hard work is done by the ministry, by the central government, and also by the people, to the extent that you support the good reforms, to the extent that you acknowledge that sometimes sacrifices have to be made. And it's your achievement as well, the stabilization that you're witnessing. Now it is important not just to cement the gains, but to set up the right policies, the right governance, the right institutions, so that the country is entering a more positive and reinforcing virtuous cycle. This becomes especially important when the oil comes, when the oil revenues come. If the governance is not improved, if the institutions are not strengthened, it would not benefit the common person. So that is a priority, those governance measures. Um, I am very grateful for the opportunity to serve. We serve Suriname. And we are all looking in the same direction. So the vision is the same. I would like also the Surinamese public to know that we are not blind and or insensitive to the fact that a common man is yet to benefit from the reforms. The first priority was to get the country out of crisis. And I think right now we are finally emerging out of it. The people have borne some of the brunt of some of the adjustment, and as my colleague and friend explained why those were necessary. I don't know Dutch, but I could pick up on keywords, and I could understand 90% of what both the governor and the minister were saying. It's important to spend money on social protection. And this is one area where the results have been disappointing. Social protection should never have been an afterthought. In fact, when the IMF has recommended the removal of fuel subsidies, phasing out of electricity subsidies, and other measures, on one hand, at the same time, there was supposed to be support for the population in terms of social protection programs. We have a floor. I don't know if people realize this is the area where the fund asks the government to spend more. It's a very different line item compared to all the others. In others we say let's consolidate. In this one we say please spend more. This is where there has been some underperformance, unfortunate underperformance, and efforts should be stepped up to meet the targets for end year. And also to make sure that the money reaches to the right people and that the value of those payments are not eroded by inflation. So we have had those discussions with the president, and he is planning to take this situation to heart. We also asked for more transparency on social protection spending so that the Ministry of Social Affairs publishes on its website how many households in each district received the payments, so that there is also accountability to the public. And also explain on the website who's eligible, so that the person reads and says, I'm eligible, why didn't I get it? So there should be accountability for this. And of course, to spend money wisely on infrastructure, that's another important goal. We have also discussed wages. And our opinion is that the public sector salaries are scandalously low. It is not right that the teacher has to rely on tutoring just to make ends meet, that her salary has been degraded with inflation to such extent. But it is also important to keep in mind there is also a lot of waste. One of the conditionalities under the program is to get rid of ghost workers. 18% of the public workforce are not registered in the system. And the population should demand change and accountability. It's a waste, and it's also demoralizing, because if you are in the public service and you are working hard, and you know that a bunch of people are receiving money for doing nothing, that is not right, and it is outright theft. And let's call things as they are. So you should not feel sorry for those people. And if you can get rid of ghost workers, there is more space for proper wage increase. So that is extremely important. And I know it is easy to say, oh, it's because the fund that our salaries are low. No, because it's of the waste. and of the people who are just pocketing money without working. So that's where your righteous anger should be directed towards. And at the same time, the government needs the revenues to run its business. And that comes the VAT, for example. It is impossible to have the perfect law. And you can have paralysis by democracy. You can postpone and postpone until everybody is happy. But let's face it, nobody likes to pay taxes. Nobody will ever be happy. But every time you postpone, you're losing potential revenues that could be directed to pay salaries, including for those unions that are protesting, and to pay social protection payments to the poor and vulnerable who are suffering.